We'll call this meeting to order, so we'll begin by asking the clerk to call the roll.
Christopher Poulos.
Here.
Michael Riccio.
I am here.
Victoria Triano. Here. John Barry.
Here.
William Diedzik.
Here.
Tom Lombardi.
Here.
Dawn Maselli.
Present.
Kelly Morrissey.
Here.
Christopher Palmieri.
Here. If we can all rise for the prayer, and Councilman Lombardi has the prayer.
Lord, may you continue to bless and keep Southington and her people. May you direct and lead this council in all her endeavors as we seek to do what is right and just for all people. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And can I ask Councilman Poulos to lead us in the pledge? Thank you all. So I'm just looking for a motion next to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Councilperson Communications.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
I'd like to congratulate our Chief of Police, Jack Daly, for having completed 35 years of service to the town of Southington at the police department. So congratulations to Chief Daly for 35 years of service. I also was fortunate enough to be able to attend the Southington YMCA annual dinner, which was a fantastic event, and they honored many important residents here in Southington who give so much back to the town. And Mr. Palmieri, the chairman of the council, was able to say a few words to the person of the year, about the person of the year, John DeMello. So Chris, I don't know if you want to just say a few words about the Y event, and Mr. DeMello, you had some really nice things that you said about him.
Sure, and I'd also just like to acknowledge Councilman Lombardi, Councilwoman Triano, and Councilwoman Maselli, who were also in attendance at the event. So first of all, thank you to the Y for doing a phenomenal job in our community, and that is their annual meeting, so it's a night to celebrate the Y. But although many people were honored, I'd just like to take a moment and acknowledge once again John DeMello, who is recognized as the Y's Person of the Year this year. The work John does for us in this community, for our veterans, is really unparalleled. I said it that night, I feel like we have one of the best veterans committees in the state, and it's really because of all of our committee members and the amount of time and energy they invest into our veterans really, again, is unparalleled. So what a great honor it was to be there to recognize John DeMello, and some committee members were there in attendance also acknowledging him. So again, I'd like to thank our Veterans Committee and really acknowledge all the work he does in this community. So thank you. Any other?
Yes. Two things. I, on February 4th, attended the Historical Society's monthly board meeting. Couple things to share. They have been working and fundraising to improve that building, in particularly the newly acquired lower level. Their board voted to purchase and install 2 commercial-grade dehumidifiers. The humidity down there in the lower level has always been an issue, but big investment, over $4,000. They themselves have been working to clear out old sheetrock and paneling, remove rugs. They've gotten paint and flooring material. It's going to really be a nice space once all that work is done. Special shout out and thank you to HQ Dumpsters for donating a dumpster for the removal of those items, and also from the Public Works team, who's going to lend some manpower to help move this stuff out. Also at the meeting, they shared that on February 26th at 6:30, there's a book talk. The Connecticut 169 Club features, it's a new book that's printed, features 2 or 3 pages on each local municipality. Southington has a nice spread. Phil Wooding was the contributor to that piece of that book. You can get it on Amazon if you want to buy that book for, I think it was like $25. Nice hardcover coffee table book. And interesting. We flipped through it. And then from now through April, the hours are of the Historical Society are 12 to 3. Appraisals every other Saturday. You can check their website to know exactly which day the appraisals will take place. Next item was the 3rd of February. I was up at Mount Southington. My kids are involved in the Mount Southington ski racing team, and that was the day of the Mount Southington home race. So what happens is all the ski areas around the state host a race throughout the course of the ski season, and it was really, truly a community event. They held a raffle. Local businesses donated all sorts of things for the parent raffle. Many families from Southington volunteering their time. People that not associated with the program, just customers at Mount Southington were able to be involved. And again, they raised over $10,000 to support the program, which it's a costly program. So I just thought it was a great community effort, and just a hats off to Mount Southington. Dawn's husband and I volunteer up there. They haven't had the best snowy winter, although tonight's going to help them out. But they have state-of-the-art snowmaking, which has kept them 100% open through all of January, and it's just a great place in our town. So wanted to give them a shout out.
Mr. Lombardi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to address an editorial that appeared in the Record Journal. I think it was over the weekend. I didn't know about it until another counselor brought it to my attention, but I found the editorial very disturbing, and it relates to the event that several of us attended a few weeks ago for the Southington Women for Progress. And come to find out, the media was asked to leave that night. And then this editorial goes on to say that, the town council members there should have known that the media was asked to leave. First of all, that statement was absurd and false. And had we known that they were asked to leave, I speak on behalf of the other members that were there, but we probably would have left as well. Mm-hmm. And then for a member of that group to go to the newspaper and say, we wanted the town councilors to feel comfortable when they were speaking. Well, look. Yeah. We're comfortable speaking in front of the whole town every 2 weeks. Yeah. So, there was a lot of things that really angered me when I read that article, and I'm sure most of us read it as well. But for the public's knowledge, we're open to have discussions all the time, whether it be at forums put on by different groups in town, or the community chats that are being held, or if you want to call our cell phones, or if you want to email us. The media is welcome. They can come sit next to me for, all day until I have to go to sleep. I don't care. But these articles. And I also want to say I fully respect the media's job. They need to write things. They need to create stories and write up on things. But it is a little bit ridiculous lately. So that's all I'll have to say on that.
I'll just say I want to echo on a little bit on there. When the Record Journal called me and I said, "I'm surprised you left. Like, did you think it wasn't newsworthy?" And they said, "Oh no, we were asked to leave." As a counselor, I didn't like Tom. We didn't know. Mm-hmm. And then I proceeded in that phone interview to make a public comment about what I thought about the night. So, happy to be in partnership with the newspaper, but don't like the assumption that we didn't want them there at all. That's simply not the case.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Lombardi, for bringing the issue up. I don't fault the Record Journal. I think the editorial, they maybe were under the impression maybe some council people knew. I don't know if they knew or not know. But if I knew that the press was asked to leave, I would have stood up and said, no, I want the press to stay, because it was an important issue. It was an important topic, and certainly the press will be able to inform their readers and people that go onto their website to tell them what happened at the event. So I was very disappointed that the press was asked to leave. To me, the council was there to learn and listen and to even give whatever opinions we wanted to. And anyone that knows me, I say what's on my mind. So certainly I wouldn't have done anything different if the press was there. So I'm very disappointed that the press was asked to leave in a very important event like that. This was really about a community discussion, and part of community discussions have to involve the press. So thank you, Mr. Lombardi, for bringing it up tonight. And hopefully in the future, any events like that, the press will be actually encouraged to stay.
I would just say, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, that in our community conversations, not only will the public be invited to every meeting, but of course, there'll always be a spot for the press to be there. I mean, I concur with everything that was said tonight.
Anything else related to that? Okay. Any other council person communications?
Yes,
Go ahead,
I
Ms.
don't know.
Tran.
Anybody else have something they want to go? A couple of things. I was at the regional health meeting, the AMR review meeting, and that's a little different. So it's the AMR review meeting, and before we went into executive session, AMR came out wanting to inform the town of Southington that they are now in the process of providing classes, and they've already done it at the high school and the middle school. And one of the things they want to do is to bring it to the entire community. They have two classes that are very important. One of them is hands-only CPR. And we saw it here. They came here to show us, but they're really making an effort to get to Rotary and to get to other organizations that they can train people in hands-only CPR. It can save a life so readily. The other one is like it, and it's called Stop the Bleed. And that's what happens when someone has a very traumatic cut or injury, and how important it would be to know exactly at least a bit of CPR and a little bit of first aid so that the bleeding could be held until the ambulance gets there. So I wanted to just inform everybody about it because I think it's going to be very interesting. I know they're going to have a big rollout in May, but they're open now to kind of be booked in different social groups and clubs within the community. I think it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be good for us to have that relationship with AMR, that they're going to extend themselves to all of us. And so I just want to let folks know about that.
Before you get off of that, just because you mentioned middle school, they did
Yes.
come, but they didn't come this year. So if they'd like to, because I actually planned it
Yeah.
last time they came to DePaulo. If they want to get back into the middle schools, there's
They would
different sets
love
of
it.
kids.
They would love it.
And we didn't even hit the whole population. So I'm sure we could rotate through, and so through you, if you
They're
want to
hoping.
coordinate
I
it.
certainly will do that. They mentioned how much they enjoyed middle school because they said the kids were ready to. They knew that this could save a life, and they
Right.
took it for face value at that, and they were very enthusiastic about that. So I'm sure they would
Feel-
love to come back, Chris.
Great.
So I will certainly let them know. I have another. I received a call from Mrs. Haig, Mrs. Elaine Haig from Woodruff Street, 170, I believe, Woodruff Street. And, during there's been problems with flooding on Woodruff Street forever. But the last rainstorm that we had, I believe, is on January 26th. It was miserable. I got water in my house, and, everybody got water. But unfortunately, the folks around Mrs. Haig's property and Mrs. Haig herself had a devastating loss. They, according to Mrs. Haig, it was about $35,000 worth of damage because the water just gushed into their home. Part of the problem that she feels, and I'm going to just send it over to you, Mark, and maybe you can have one of the, someone from the engineering department look at it.
Sure, I can have the
But
Public Works Director look at it.
Yes, of course. I'm going to speak to you then, Keith. Part of the problem, on the right-of-way, there is a stream that runs. And at one time, the town went in, and it's on town property, the town went in and dug out the stream so it ran freely. Of course, over the years, many years, it's grown back, and there's sludge and whatever is in there is in there. And also, she also mentioned that someone from engineering at one time said to her that she needed a larger culvert in front of her house. It's complicated. Mr. Hague is here. He's, I think, going to address this during public communication. But Keith, if you could arrange just to get out there and kind of see what, if it's on town property and it's causing damage, if we can help that in any way, I think that is very important. The road was closed, as you all remember. Flanders and Woodruff was closed near Marcy Drive. That's how bad the flooding was. And so I just would like to see if there's anything that we can do through the engineering department that might address this issue, and go with it from there. Mr. Chairman, through you.
Yep, that's fine.
Through the manager, and then over to the
There is one issue that obviously we knew about this particular problem for many
Sure.
years. I did ask Keith, and Keith could report on it when he does his whole report. He'll
Yep.
do it in writing for your next meeting. But we did touch base with Spring Lake. As you know, there's a dam there.
Yep.
And Keith will put it better in his report. You'll speak engineer ease, which I can't, but it does not allow them, like normally if you know if something is coming, you lower it a little bit and drain off. I asked Keith to look into that, and he spoke with the people from Spring Lake, and that dam doesn't do that. So normally, if you have a dam situation and you know that the water's going to be, you know you're getting a 3-inch storm like we knew
Yeah.
a couple of days beforehand, normally if you have a dam with controls on it, you release it, get the water out of there, bring it back up again, and then hold it back until that, we did check on that part of it. So that's issue number one. And of course, all the other engineering and the
Right.
topographics, Keith will cover that.
Also, because there is across the street a new development, relatively new development, very near wetlands. And so that also complicated. There is a slight hill that would maintain it, but that hill is also worn down, and I think that is also on our property. So so it's on the record, we can start to look at it, and I know Mr. Hague is probably going to address some of it during council matters, so. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any other council person communication? No? Okay, I just have two quick things. The town manager and I were talking about this. It's hard to believe it's been so long since our last meeting. I think we announced it right afterwards, but I'm pleased to share with the public, and you'll get a little bit more detailed analysis under the town manager's report. But our grand list has increased by 1.49% from last year. The excellent news is that means that has brought in an additional $1.8 million in tax revenue. So excellent news. We have issued press releases. It's been out there, but again, we haven't had a formal town council meeting since that announcement. So I wanted to, if you haven't heard it, wanted to share that with the public. The other thing I'd like to share is in response and offer my support to our community services department. They really do exceptional work. We have 3 employees down there, Janet Mellon, Mark Fazzolari, and John Adams. And I'd like to take a minute and just read into the record a letter that they submitted. It says, "To whom it may concern, the purpose of this letter is to discuss a thread that was on Southington Talks, to discuss issues they had with our fundraiser, Unique Boutique. Unique Boutique is a fundraiser where over 600 people come to the AquaTurf to purchase new and gently used clothing that was donated to our office. Less than 5% of donations are used at Unique Boutique. Profits from this event are used to purchase food for the food pantry or to assist clients with their rent or heating bills. It is clearly stated on our website that we might use these donations at Unique Boutique. We also hand out brochures after they donate that also states that we might use their donations at Unique Boutique. New clothing and shoes may also be used for the following: fire victims, job interviews, work clothes, and school clothes. Many people donate and specifically request we use it for the Unique Boutique event. The trailer is used for Unique Boutique, food drives, Thanksgiving baskets, Christmas baskets, senior Christmas gifts, armory gifts, and our back-to-school program. Janet, Mark, and John are the only full-time employees at Community Services, and they assure the community that they are doing what's best for their clients, and that has always been their priority. And I can tell you, I'm sure I speak for everyone up here, we all know members of that department, they really do an exceptional job of putting the needs of others in our community first. So I just wanted to share that with the public. That was written from Janet, Mark, and John, and just wanted to share that with everyone. Okay, so we are continuing our monthly reports, and this month we have an update on our engineering and water pollution control plant. So we have Keith Hayden, our Director of Public Works, that's here with us tonight to educate us all on the engineering and water pollution control plan.
Bear with me a moment, this timed out on me, so.
Printed note.
Good evening. Just like to give you a little bit of update on the projects we've been working on and a few of the projects we're going to have going forward. As you know, Public Works basically is 4 different units: engineering, highways and parks, the sewer plant, and the sewer administration. Tonight, I'm going to update you on the engineering and the sewer plant. So in 2018, these are some of the projects we completed. The paver replacement and resetting of pavers in the downtown Renaissance area. We did that in 3 different phases. We actually finished all 3 phases on the budget we allocated for the first 2. So we completed that about $50,000 under budget. Phase 3 of the painting of the streetlights, trash receptacles, and the benches. And we also completed the connection from where the trail ended at Curtis Street and the new trail extension that was done by the solvent recovery folks. We had a piece that was a gap there at the triangle at the Curtis Hart Street intersection. So we designed that in-house, and we contracted that out and had that work completed. Also, for that work, we received an accessibility grant from the DOT. They recognize the importance of that connection as a critical component of the trail system. And normally the accessibility grants are given pre-construction, but recognizing the importance of our connection, they're making an exception and giving us the money post-construction. So that's a big deal for the DOT to bend their rules. We also finished the West Center Street Bridge replacement, and with that, we received a 47.89% grant in the amount of $758,000. So that was money that came back to us that we could use back into our road program. And we also repaved the lower level parking lot here at the Municipal Center.
Keith, before you move on for that, was there anything else grant funded besides the West Center Street Bridge, or was that the only thing we received grant funding for of those projects?
We're going to receive one for the Curtis Hart Street.
Excellent, okay.
In 2018, from the sewer department side, we completed the design of the plant upgrade and the phosphorus removal project. We also completed the design of the south end pump station, which actually is under construction right now. And we also evaluated and lined quite a bit, and I won't read them off. You can read them there, the different size sewer mains. And for people who are unfamiliar with that process, we send a camera down from manhole to manhole, and we actually video the condition of the sewer lines. And when we find issues, cracked pipes, or water infiltrating into our sewer system, we then go in and line them. And the lining is basically they like blow in like a inside-out tube sock. It's coated with like a resin that hardens. They cure it with steam, they pressurize it, it takes the shape of the pipe, And then when they're done, a couple hours later, they can trim it off at the manholes, and we end up with a brand-new pipe. Now, we can do, in a day, we can do some of the, one or two of these lengths of pipes. If we were to dig those up, it would take weeks, and we'd be digging in the road, and we'd be disrupting traffic, and it would be a nightmare. But we can go in, and we've been working down in Plantsville Center. People probably don't even know we're down there, but we've relined a lot of the clay pipes that are about 100 years old. So this is making a huge impact to our system, to the point of when we get these heavy rains, we're noticing that we have less of a surge of water coming through the sewer plant because we've eliminated all this clean groundwater from entering our system. So this is saving us pumping, it's saving us chemicals, and it's saving capacity on the plant. So this is a real great program that we're doing, and we will continue this into the foreseeable future. Okay, from going back to engineering, 2019 moving forward, the Jude Lane intersection improvement has recently been to bid. It's on your agenda for tonight for approval. This was designed by AECom with a $50,000 low SIP grant, and we applied under LOT SIP. Just, they sound weird, the same, but one's got a T, one doesn't. And we're getting $676,000 to build it. So the design and construction were 100% funded through these grants that we've applied for. We, assuming you folks approve it tonight, we'll start construction early in the spring. That project is going to provide a northbound left turn lane on West Street. Anybody familiar with that intersection knows that you get one person turning left at the end, at any time actually during the day, and it blocks traffic up. Everybody's got to stop and wait for that guy to clear, and then the traffic can go. So this will allow a protected lane with a green arrow, and will improve the operation of that intersection quite dramatically. Also, the next project is the trail from Lazy Lane to the town line. Currently, BL Companies is designing that. We are just about ready to enter the final design phase of that project. And as you, I don't know if you may or may not be aware, this is 100% funded with 80% federal funds, 20% state funds. And right now, the preliminary estimate of that project is just shy of $3.3 million. That's all 100% grant coming to the town. The next project is a replacement of Spring Street Bridge over the Quinnipiac River. This is being designed by AECom. Originally, this was going to be funded. We went through preliminary design, and it was funded under the state local bridge program, which was a 50% reimbursement. Through the preliminary design phase, we found that this bridge is scour critical, which enabled us to stop and reevaluate the funding source, and we applied under the federal bridge program, and we got accepted because it's scour critical. So now we're getting an 80% federal grant for that work. So just shy of $2 million, again, is grant money that's coming back to the town. The public informational meeting on this project is scheduled for the 20th of this month, actually right here in this room, and we anticipate construction starting in spring 2020.
So again, before you move off of this, all three of those projects, that's really only costing the taxpayers about $500,000 for all three projects. First two you said are 100% funded,
That's correct.
and the bottom is less than $500,000. So that's exceptional to know all this work's being done to improve infrastructure in the town, and really at such a low cost to the residents.
Yes, and we don't use a grant writer, so those grants are applied for by my staff, myself. So that's all done in-house. We're aware of a lot of these programs that are available with the state, and we're very aggressive in applying for these funds.
Very much appreciated. Councilman Ricchio?
Just a quick question. Are we 100% sure that rail service to the old Pratt facility is not needed, never going to happen, not desired for economic development?
I'm not sure I can answer that question. I know that the line has been abandoned south of Aircraft Road for rail purposes, and that was a document filed with the Federal Rail Authority.
Mike, are you referring to the line in Plainville?
No, in
Okay,
Silverton.
because there is an active line that is being incorporated into the whole design.
Well, we had a user that was looking at the Pratt facility for a substantial amount of space, and they were going to resubmit to the state to reopen the line. It was a big job creator.
Well, I know that I have the documents downstairs that the railroad owner applied to the Federal Railroad Authority and abandoned use south of Aircraft Road. So
Okay.
that is, and I'm not a rail expert on that, but I do have that document, so. And the plans are to go up to Aircraft Road, turn west and follow the edge of Aircraft Road, cross what's now an abandoned bridge up to West Queen, jog back to Redstone, and then Redstone up to the town line is the current layout.
But Mr. Hayden, didn't you also meet with the owner of the property that Mr. Riccio is talking about? Because I thought that I recalled a meeting where you actually went over the plan and they actually had some tweaks to it in terms of,
It wasn't that property. It was the properties along,
I thought that you had met with
Redstone.
all of them.
I ran into the property manager of that,
Right, facility that he's talking about.
but at that point, the plan was to go along Redstone, and as far as I know, that building's been parceled out into other businesses that are not using the rail.
But wouldn't it be mandated that property owners have to be notified? I mean,
The
there has to be a process.
the one area that Michael's talking about has, we actually went up to Hartford, and that part wasn't accessible to rail. They know about that, the owner knows about that. What we kept as accessible to rail is north of Aircraft, which means Yard Metals and north of that, that's going to stay. That's why we're taking a left-hand turn instead of going up the rails, because that, you have the gas company and you have no longer Craig Yard, Yard Metal there. So that's still going to be a rail line. It's not active up until Yard Metal, but it is active, as you know, at Birch, because that's where the train comes in when it
Right.
delivers the LP gas. But
Okay.
yeah,
I'm a
Keith is
huge
absolutely
fan
right.
of
The
the-
left-hand turn was something that was, when we went up to the state, we talked about that because the rail maintained north of Aircraft Road.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay? Also, on projects we're working on are the Marion Avenue Bridge over Falls Brook. This is, again, 100% funded for construction with an early preliminary estimate of $1.2 million. This is designed by Malone and McBroom, and the design costs were in last year's capital. So designed through the capital program, funded 100% for construction under LOTSIP. And right now, we're in negotiations with Malone and McBroom on the scope of the project and the hours for that. Also, and I'm sure everybody's aware of this one because very popular project, Plantsville Center Safety Improvements. Again, that's another LOTSIP-funded project. Early estimate of that is $2.5 million. And that's designed by Weston and Sampson, who had done the preliminary plans that I'm sure we've all seen at some point. And that, again, will go to construction in spring 2020. Right now, that project is under review by CROG and their consultant. When that's done, we anticipate having a public informational meeting on that as well.
And we should just mention with that, Keith, that there was a special meeting that was held with our police department. As you know, they are the purveyors of they're our traffic authority, if you will. And they really scrutinized the project and gave some good insight to CROG. So we'll see what happens with that. Something a little bit different even than what Weston and Sampson had suggested. So.
Okay, now looking forward with the sewer department, the south end pump station, which is actually under construction now, supposed to be done later this month, substantially complete later this month. There'll be a few things we'll have to wait for in the spring with paving, some of the site work. But that station originally was built in 1973. So we really got our money's worth out of that station. We're putting in new pumps, new generator, all new control systems, new alarms. So it was really badly in need of an upgrade. Also, the construction of the plant upgrade is just getting underway. We've issued notice to proceed on that, and that's expected to take 30 months. So that's going to be a long-term project for us. And that is getting a clean water grant for $13.8 million. For the phosphorus portions of that, it's a 50% reimbursement. Certain other portions are a 30%, and then other portions are 20%. So that's been a long time coming. We've been actively working with the Ty and Bond, the designer on that for several years now, getting the design done. So we're quite excited about finally getting that under construction. The also, I had mentioned earlier, the pipelining. That pipelining and infrastructure repairs is going to be going on, and that's funded out of operations money from the sewer plant, funded by user fees, not funded by the taxpayers. And that program is going to continue. That's a very successful program. And then coming up, we're going to look at our other 5 pump stations. The first one is the Blatchley. It says Blatchley Gravity Sewer. Currently, there's a pump station on Blatchley Road. We've looked at that, and we've determined that instead of spending $1 million on a new pump station, which would then have to be replaced every 25, 30 years going forward, we have the opportunity for that pump station to eliminate it and put a gravity sewer out to Route 322. So this would be a one-time cost to demolish the pump station, and a one-time cost to install the gravity sewer through the top end of that open space. But going forward, we'll save this, every operational cost going forward, and replacing these stations periodically going on basically forever. So this is going to save the town and the users a lot of money. And then we have the Plantsville pump station, also vintage 1973. Then we'll do West Queen, Old Turnpike, and Patton Brook going forward. So we kind of have an aggressive schedule with those, but these were built and a long time ago, and the guys have done a great job maintaining them. But it's time to enter this century with some of the equipment, the alarm systems, the pumps, more efficient pumps, and new technologies. So we're looking forward to working on those as well. And that's what I have for you this evening. If you have any more questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Are there any questions for Keith?
A lot of infrastructure work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I once again just want to commend you and your department, especially in light of the costs that are being assumed from different grant funding. I know we're obviously all paying state taxes and federal taxes, but the fact that it's not coming out of town funds, for the most part, I really appreciate the extra effort your department puts into doing that. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, excellent job. Thank you. All right, so we're moving on to special committees. Public Works is the first committee, so I'll turn it over to Mr. Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Keith, very much. I won't repeat everything that the town engineer, the director went through of Public Works. But what I can say is the Public Works Committee is very busy. We are engaged in multiple projects, as everyone just saw the presentation.
Did the mic?
Yeah, they did.
They're loud now. Okay.
No, they're good now.
Okay, just to repeat what I was saying is that the Public Works Committee is very much engaged in multiple projects, as we just saw through the presentation. Just so the public knows, the Public Works Committee meets the first Thursday of every month at Town Hall, the original town hall across from the town green. So certainly it's an important committee. Our meetings are very in-depth. They last sometimes much longer than sometimes our council meetings do. So everything is vetted there. And I want to just also just talk about a little bit about the importance of the maintenance that we do in town too through Public Works, all the upkeeps of our parks, our roads. So there is a lot of work that's being done in the Public Works Committee. On the agenda, we do have action, which was a recommendation for the West Street Jude Lane intersection improvements, and the town manager will highlight that during his report. And I just want to turn it over to Councilwoman Maselli, who is working very hard in terms of the Memorial Park Playscape, and she'll brief everyone here on the council on that issue.
Okay, good, thank you. So I'm pleased tonight to discuss the Memorial Park Playscape that was approved in the Capital Plan 2019-2020, which we are entering into. A new playscape was included as part.
In the capital plan, which hopefully you'll approve in May.
A new playscape was included as part of the master plan for Memorial Park when we did the redesign of our park system several years ago. Just a little background, the current playscape at Memorial Park was built in the 70s. You know, I guess along with the pump stations in 1973, we were building playscapes. I don't know. Since that time, I should say lately, over the last several years, it has required quite a bit of band-aiding, if you will, and our public works crews have been terrific at doing that and keeping it open to the public. But it's definitely time to bring that playscape up to date. But of course, being fiscally responsible, I know I would be hard-pressed at this point to approve $150,000, $200,000 in tax dollars to replace any playscape. Enter the very gracious and generous Rotary Club of Southington, and at this time I ask Kate Sirignano to come forward with some exciting news for us this evening.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to step away from the dais.
Okay.
I should mention there are several Rotary Club members in the audience this evening. They are such an active group in town. We are so fortunate to have you all.
Well, thank you. So first of all, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Maselli and, where'd she go? Councilwoman Triano. Oh, thanks, Vic. I apologize. I'm a little under the weather, so if I sound a little funny, that's why. I'd like to introduce our current club president, Fred Kuriger, as well as our assistant district governor, Joanne Alfieri. So the Rotary Club of Southington, as you may know, is one of the largest and, as Dawn mentioned, most active service organizations in town. And as such, we are certainly excited to partner with the town to hopefully rebuild Memorial Playscape. And so what we're here tonight to announce is that the Rotary Club of Southington has unanimously voted to donate $100,000 to rebuild this playscape.
Let's just stop there and let that sit in. $100,000, folks.
So it is certainly by far our largest project and fundraising capital campaign that we will and have ever undertaken. And so we are very excited to work, with Public Works and with the Parks Department and obviously the council to make sure this comes to fruition. One of our main tenets at Rotary is to promote economic development as well as maternal and child health. And so these two things certainly fall right in line with a brand new playscape. So we are looking to do this hopefully over the next couple of years. And, as you mentioned, Dawn, that really, hopefully, as we come into our fiscal year 2019-2020, we would be looking to make this donation. But we're looking to do more than just write a check. We are really looking to have this be an area where other organizations potentially could expand upon it as the years progress and maybe have a community garden. And really, our club is looking to get involved from a hands-on perspective as well. So we would look to the council to hopefully give us the green light and start talking about it. We have a lot of fundraising to do, so we're anxious to get going. But again, I can't echo enough that we certainly are very excited about this project.
Thank you, Kate.
So we actually want to thank you too and the Rotary Club for, as Dawn said, $100,000. That's incredible, and we can't tell you enough how much we appreciate Rotary stepping forward and trying to help us with this project. So thank you very much.
So just to continue, to give counselors a little bit more background, as Kate mentioned, this will be over a 2-year time frame, both fiscally and project work-wise, if you will. Also, where the playscape is right now, which, as you know, it's down around it's sort of dark down there, and it's around the bend in the road, and it's not visible from the road, and it's not, it's dark, and it's not welcoming, exactly. It's going to be moving. That, again, was in that master redesign that we did of Memorial Park, and it will be now between the swimming pool and the fields, right adjacent to the parking lot. So it will be visible from Woodruff Street. And you know what's fun? We're hoping to do it in the theme of a pirate ship. And Mark Schoda our town manager, was quite excited about that because he likened it to Lake Compounce and the pirate ship ride there, but also being next to the swimming pool, it makes sense. So we're going to have a little fun with that, hopefully. The other thing is that this will be an all abilities, is the correct terminology now, an all abilities playscape. It will be handicapped accessible. We actually hope to add a component based on a suggestion at the Public Works meeting, add a special component for a wheelchair-bound child, if we are able to. These things cost a lot of money, folks, so we're going to try to get the biggest bang for their buck. Right now, we're looking at hopefully about 39 components. There will be different components for children 2 to 5 years of age, and then different ones for children 5 to 12 years of age. Instead of wood mulch, which we have spoken with other communities, we're going with a sort of rubberized playscape surface that has greater longevity. And finally, to further offset the monies for the town of Southington, because the town doesn't have a grant writer, I applied for a grant, wrote out a grant over the last couple of weeks with the help from some town staff to the Community Foundation of Greater New Britain. I had preliminary talks with them. They invited me to submit the grant application, and we have asked them for $50,000 as well. So we are hopeful that going into this project will be $150,000 through our very gracious and generous partners. So this is exciting, and let's hope that it all comes to fruition. Go Rotary.
I would not be doing my civic duty to Rotary if I didn't mention our first fundraising event publicly, which will be March 5th, our Mardi Gras event. So we hope that people will come out and support the cause, because now all of our money will be going to. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Great,
Thank you
very
again.
much.
We appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Rotary.
Councilman Berry, was there anything else to add under Public Works, or does that conclude your report? That concludes your report. Okay, excellent.
Chairman,
Oh, go ahead.
can I just
Councilman Barty.
add one thing from Public Works?
Sure.
We did have a in-depth discussion, and it's good that the town manager, maybe the Keith Hayden, or Councilwoman Maselli or Councilman Barry could expand on it. But a couple of years ago, we got away from the chip seal process. We tested a new process. I always get the wording right.
Thin bonded overlay.
Right, and I think maybe the details can be explained a little bit better than I can, but it didn't work out on one of the roads that we attempted, and town staff actually withheld payment from the contractor that did it. So I think it's worth, I don't know if Councilwoman Maselli or Councilman Barry just want to expand on it. I'm not happy that it didn't come out good, but I am happy that town staff did withhold the money from payment. So again, we're trying new processes to save money. The chip seal, we heard remarks on that years ago. So I'll hand it over to.
Sure.
Barry.
No,
Let's expand on
if
that
anyone else wants to
discussion
expand,
that we had.
I want to just remain cautious. Town staff is working with the vendor, so I don't want to get into details due to possible future issues that could arise from the company and the town. So let's just say that the town staff is working diligently to ensure that road is completed based on the contract, and that the town's first priority is to ensure that the roads are done properly, and that is something the town is working with the vendor. Does that help you out?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Councilman Ricchio?
We're watching it.
Just kind of add in here, I just bought a house on a road that was chip sealed in town. I don't know if we'd ever even go back to chip seal, but just FYI. The road is in great shape, so I asked the neighbors, the two neighbors, one to the side and one across the street, what they thought about the chip seal process. They said they love it. Outside of the initial nuisance of the stones being loose, they said they love it. I think it's great. The road looks awesome. It almost looks like it's brand new. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to town manager's report. So again, Mark, you can give a more detailed information about the grand
Thank you,
list.
Mr. Chairman. Actually, both my items were already discussed, but I will go in more depth on the grand list. As you said, Mr. Chairman, we're very pleased with our grand list. 1.9% is a great undertaking, and I sent out press releases thanking everybody who needed to be thanked and more. But I really want to talk about is the fact of how balanced it is, and I think that's what we have to look at as a town. If you look at it, when the director, Teresa Babbins, she put the numbers together, and I know that we always talk about, well, we increases mainly because of our subdivisions. Well, that's true. We do have a lot of subdivisions in town. We do get real estate happening. Look at the balance. Just push those two up.
Static.
Oh, push them straight up. So you do have a balanced grand list. If you look at this and look at it closely, real estate went up by 1.01%. Obviously, that's the biggest number because it starts off with the biggest number. The second thing to look at is motor vehicles. Last year, as you saw, motor vehicles was up a little bit more than this, but if you look at it, it's still 1.08% or 80%, which is also a good number. But I think the most thing we all should be excited about is personal property went up 7.96%, 8%. Now, there's really only one reason why personal property goes up, and that's because you have either existing businesses buying new things or new businesses coming to town with new things. So the number that I'm most excited about here is the personal property one. Also, I am very excited about the paragraph where Ms. Babbins shows that a lot of these big numbers, they're not 100% valued yet. So next year, I think we're also going to see maybe not 1.49. I'm not predicting that, but I'm predicting that we stay ahead of where we normally would be in a situation where our border towns, and I know not to mention any towns, but there's towns very excited when the grand list goes up by just shy of 1%. And they're all very excited, as they should be. And I think that's why if you look at Southington, you should be very excited about 1.49. There's a lot of work and a lot of people to be thanked. Remember, this board is the one who passed a lot of those tax abatements. And yes, you don't see the tax abatements in the first couple of years, but the ones you gave 4 or 5 years ago, those are all bearing fruit now, and that's how tax abatements work. The first 2 years are 100%. You don't see them, but now that you're in your third and fourth and fifth year, the ones you just granted, fine, you're not going to see those, but the ones you granted 4 or 5 years ago, they're all bearing fruit. And obviously, they're bearing fruit with the personal property. So when you look at this, look at it closely. There are some very good numbers in here. You know, obviously, it could be better. Of course it could be better, but I think these numbers are very much to be proud of. This board, planning and zoning, and it certainly might develop. Congratulations to all of you, and y'all keep up the good work on that. Go ahead, Dawn.
I just have to add some levity. I love the town's 29th highest taxpayer is Connecticut Baked Potato. How much fun is that? Oh, yeah. I love that name.
Now
We were
you have to-
talking about it the other
now you
night
have
at
to
an
give them
event at the
press.
AquaTurf.
Now you have to give them press, who they are.
Okay, it's Wendy's.
So,
I love that, Connecticut Baked Potato.
Mr. Chairman, in
Yes.
light of that, which is very exciting, this council, we haven't had any time with the chamber when they used to bring in speakers and stuff, and they were really good. And Dawn, I know you're coming in as president of the chamber, and so maybe we can kind of work on that in partnership if they're open for that.
before I turn it over to Dawn, Mr. Perillo has informed me that he
Yeah.
is going to be supporting a little bit financially, a
Correct.
program, which I'll pass over to
Well,
the
I'm going to
chamber.
just be quiet then.
Yeah.
I think
Well, we had asked for patience. We had leadership change at the chamber, and so it took some time, and I'm happy to announce, I didn't announce it tonight because it's not till June 6th. Our next town chamber business forum is June 6th at Hawks Landing. It's a breakfast. It's being put on by the Human Resource Director of Laz Parking, and it's going to be quite informative and quite interesting. And again, it just took us a couple of months to work out the details, so I appreciate everybody having patience on that. Yeah.
That's great.
No other further questions on the grand list. The second item has been covered, but let me just go through it. This is a contract which is being recommended to you by the Public Works Committee and the Public Works Director. It's for the West Street Jew Lane intersection, Paramount Construction LLC of Newington, Connecticut, the amount of $692. I'll submit that to the clerk. That includes the bid amount plus a 10% incidental / contingency.
Any questions for the manager about West Street Jude Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the town attorney's report. We'll start with the 824 for Westwood Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you may recall, in January, this board referred to planning and zoning as required for a land transfer. An 824 referral off Westwood Road. It's a swapping of an open space parcel that will give the landowner access to that property to in the future build a subdivision. So that is on for action tonight. Are there any questions about that? All right, moving on. I had prepared what I thought would be some brief remarks, but as is pretty normal with lawyers, we get a little wordy, so I apologize in advance. But this does relate to what we've been talking about, or what I've been talking about a lot over the past couple of meetings. This relates to some Freedom of Information complaints filed by the Southington Observer and John Gorelski against this board. As you are aware, on October 31st, 2018, John Gorelski of the Southington Observer filed a complaint with the Freedom of Information Commission relating to a resolution passed by this board relative to Hartford Healthcare on Monday, August 27th, 2018. That resolution stated, quote, "We, the Southington Town Council, do hereby state our position that the Hospital of Central Connecticut continue providing medical services at the current Bradley Memorial campus located on Meriden Avenue. We agree with Hartford Healthcare that Southington residents should receive world-class health care, but believe that care should be at a central location that is conducive to the overall accessibility and infrastructure of our community. Currently, services include, but are not limited to, an emergency room, surgery unit, cardiology, X-ray, and CAT scan. Moreover, the town council would support the transformation of the current facility and/or site into a micro-hospital, also known as a neighborhood hospital, as is the recent trend in the healthcare industry," end quote. That Freedom of Information complaint itself related to meetings between this board's members and representatives of Hartford Healthcare. More specifically, the complaint alleged that town councilors have tried to circumvent the Freedom of Information Act by setting up individual meetings, even though the Southington Charter, quote, affords no powers to individual counselors. It was further specifically alleged that counselors, quote, do not have the authority under the town charter to conduct business unless in a quorum, end quote. Although this board has never been afforded the opportunity to defend its actions, in my opinion, council members have neither tried to circumvent the Freedom of Information Act nor violated the town charter in any manner. I know of no provision under this town's charter that does not allow council members to individually speak to constituents or representatives of local businesses. Rather, I would suggest that part of their role is just that, to speak to the public, to gather information affecting this community, to know what is going on in Southington. Ultimately, that complaint was withdrawn by the Southington Observer, and therefore a hearing was never held before the commission. On January 5th, 2019, in an editorial, the Observer stated, quote, "Our hands are tied as far as having a hearing and letting the town know that they had illegal meetings, an FOI Commission official finally ruled in an email last Friday. I will contact them and let them know that those were illegal meetings, and going forward, they must let the public know, end quote. As town attorney, I found this representation to be troubling on many levels. In my knowledge and experience, I understand that in an administrative setting, such as to the Freedom of Information Commission, the word ruling has a very specific and important legal meaning. Namely, a ruling cannot happen without a full hearing and a chance for both sides to present evidence and a decision maker to take the evidence, apply the law, and finally formalize a ruling. Here, since the case was withdrawn without a hearing, the town never had a chance to present evidence, and more importantly, no case was heard and no ruling was ever made. Ultimately, had such a hearing been held, I believe that the commission would have found in favor of the council members, and I believe our council members have conducted themselves in accordance with both the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act and the Southington Town Charter. I believe in this instance, our council members were doing their job. Based on that editorial and my opinion that the council did not violate any provision of the Freedom of Information Act, and the fact that a decision could not be rendered by that commission without a hearing having been held, I contacted the director of the Freedom of Information Commission via letter dated January 14th, 2019, requesting clarification as to how a representative of that commission would make a representation to the media that a public board committed any wrong or that a ruling was ever made in this case. I was thereafter contacted by Thomas Hennick of the Freedom of Information Commission, who I spoke to directly on February 6, 2019, who affirmed my belief that only the commission has the ability to make rulings and that has never happened in this case. Mr. Hennick clarified that no individuals are authorized, besides the commission, to issue any rulings or make any factual or legal determinations. And although he could not confirm any individual conversations in which he was not involved, he would hope that nobody working at the commission would make such an assertion. Had the hearing proceeded, I would note the definition of, quote, meeting under the Freedom of Information Act for this board's edification. That is, quote, meeting means any hearing or other proceeding of a public agency, any convening or assembly of a quorum of a multi-member public agency, and any communication by or to a quorum of a multi-member public agency, whether in person or by means of electronic equipment, to discuss or act upon a matter over which the public agency has supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power, end quote. The statute continues at length, but I have stated the pertinent portion of the definition of meeting, and am submitting the entire statute, section 1-200 of the Connecticut General Statutes, for the record tonight. Referring back to the resolution at hand, it is important to note that the resolution of the Town Council on August 27th did not deal with any matter over which this board has control, jurisdiction, or advisory power. Hartford Healthcare is a private corporation over which the board does not have control. The resolution passed was merely a position statement of this board that the hospital, for the hospital, not a directory statement in any way. Therefore, any meetings conducted by council members with representatives of Hartford Healthcare, whether in quorum or not, did not constitute a meeting under the Freedom of Information Act. In my opinion, our council members were not wrongly avoiding quorum, but were performing an essential function of elected officials, that is, fact gathering on an issue that affects this community directly. As the second appeal was filed on December 31st of 2018 and relates to council chats, which occurred on December 5th, 2018. As that matter is not resolved yet, I am researching and gathering facts at this stage. However, based on my knowledge, these chats were merely informal listening sessions where council members made themselves available to constituents without any predetermined agenda, as that would be guided by what the constituents wish to talk about. These chats were well publicized and open to the public and offer the residents of the town the chance to talk to their elected council members about matters involving the town. As these are merely informal listening sessions and not policy-making meetings where decisions are made that affect the town, I do not believe these gatherings constitute anything contrary to the mandate of the Freedom of Information Act. It is my opinion that, again, there was no wrongdoing by the council members involved. They were in fact doing what they are supposed to do as elected officials of this board. That is, listening to their constituents. Again, it is important to note that the purpose of having a quorum of any board is to ensure that no decision is made by a board without the presence of a majority of its members. Neither of the actions complained of in these cases involved any decision-making. Our council was doing their job and talking to members of the community. I hope they continue to do so. I'm happy to answer any questions and will continue to update the board as this progresses.
Okay, Mr. Ricchio.
Can you send that to the Observer for us?
I'd like to take that one step farther and send it to the owner of the Observer, which is the publisher of the Waterbury Republican American.
I would agree. I think there has to be openness with the press. We want to work with them.
Right.
But we have to be on the same page. And to throw innuendos around and it's just in poor taste. So I want to, Mr. Chairman, I really want to thank the town attorney because Attorney Futner, that was very clear, very straightforward. It clarified our position, things that we knew and we always functioned under. But I really appreciated the way you put it down so concisely and very clear. And I think that would answer a lot of questions for people. You know, it's a hard thing when you think that we're operating in with the purest of intentions, and we know what's an illegal meeting. But anyway, thank you. My point was I wanted to thank you, Attorney Futner.
My pleasure.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yeah, I think it's obvious for all of us, but for the public's knowledge,
Right.
what we vote on occurs on Monday nights, or whenever the scheduled town council meetings occur. Take it a step further. We all serve on committees. For example, we talked about Public Works tonight. I could have voted on something on Public Works at the Public Works meeting and then voted differently tonight. The only votes that matter occur at the town council meeting. Everything else is just recommendations, investigations, or in the case of the council chats, maybe it's just a discussion with a resident, hearing an opinion. But the votes that matter occur here. I mean, I feel foolish explaining this to this council. I mean, we all know this, but maybe some of the public doesn't know that. But we vote at the council on council issues. Everything else is knowledge or discussion or opinion. So I think it's worth noting that on the record.
Right, thank you. Vice Chair Maselli?
I'll go one step farther, and I think most of you know that I'm a former journalist. I taught journalism at Quinnipiac University for 11 years. This is my passion. I mean, if I was younger, I would still be in the newsroom, quite frankly, because it was an exciting place to be, to disseminate information. And, you know, freedom of information is, you know, the book, I still have my freedom of information book in my Associated Press style book. It's the Bible. I believe in it wholeheartedly, and that's why all of this was pretty upsetting because, and I love that you use the terminology that we are fact gathering. How else can we know how our constituency feels about things? I mean, Ms. Triano, you talked tonight about that you had a constituent called about flooding. You know, of course, we need to be able to talk to our constituents and to represent. So God bless the First Amendment.
Let's put a little note on there, stop the madness.
Hashtag stop the madness.
Stop the madness.
Councilman Poulos?
Yeah, again, I want to publicly thank Attorney Futner. I just feel reassured that a lot of what my whole role, I see myself as out talking to people, and I have a lot of resident interaction. I talk to local businesses, advocacy groups, and I don't want to ever feel or second guess if I'm doing the right thing, and I'm glad that I know, and I thought I knew, but I'm reassured that that's good to go. I just also, you know, like I'm looking forward to residents like hearing that the record's set straight, because we see things printed, and then I go out with family or friends, not in a town council capacity, and people are asking me about, are you able to talk about this and so forth, and residents are feeling that they can't bring things to me, which isn't right either. They should feel very comfortable talking to any of us if they have a concern or a question. And so I hope that through your passing on of the report and people watching this meeting, that the residents understand that it's okay, that they can talk and share with us in any place.
So I guess in closing, Attorney Futner, thank you. I appreciate it. I think that really helped clarify for us. Through our past conversations, I think we all knew where we stood, but it was really especially important to hear that from you, and especially after you took the time to talk to the commissioner at FOI to make sure that we're all on the same page, because sometimes we're a little close to the issues, so it's good that you took the outside perspective and heard from them at the state level, because they're dealing with all different municipalities, not just our own. I'm hoping this helps resolve matters not only for us, but for the residents, as well as the staff of the Observer, because I do want to work in a partnership with the media moving forward, and I think this will help set that tone moving forward. But I also want to say both issues, I'm very proud of what we've done. A business owner in town reached out to us and asked every member of the council to take the time to hear their concerns, and all of us did that based upon their request. And I think that's important for us to do for any business in this town. I'm also very proud of the fact that I know the vice chair and I set up community chats, which is another opportunity. We're elected to represent the 40,000+ people in this community, and the way for us to do that is to get out there and have these conversations. So I think it's reassuring to hear that, but I'm proud that we are doing that, and thank all of you for doing what's right, and we appreciate it. Okay. Anything else for the town attorney?
That's all I have.
All right, so moving on, we are at public communication, so the microphone is open. If any member of the public would like to speak, we just ask you state your name and address for the record, but the microphone is open.
No Elio.
I know.
No Elio.
Hello, Ms. Dolan.
Hello, Stacy Dolan, 55 Vermont Avenue. So I appreciate that Mr. Shota reached out to Community Services to look into everything. That's the feedback that I got today. But I want to say, and I don't really want to too much go into it, I was there for 2.5 years, and I didn't per se volunteer except for one single day where I ironed clothes for Unique Boutique for hours. But I would go there, donate weekly. I would check the shelves. I would post about it. I would sit in the office and talk to the employees and to Janet. There's no way that they can't say that I was there at least 3 days a week, if not more. Janet and I would have been considered friends, without a doubt. When being there and seeing the things and the way they were run, and I was not happy, I did the right thing. I sat her down in a room, and I talked to her, and I told her all the things that I disagreed with what she was doing. And she did the normal Janet thing that she does, and we just didn't see eye to eye, and I left. And I left that meeting, and she lied about things that I said in that meeting.
Mr. Chairman, you can't
yeah,
talk about personnel matters.
Okay,
Please.
fine.
Yeah.
But it just showed me the personality. So I never said anything, and I kept my mouth shut, and I see things and how they run, and I think it's my job to say when I think something's wrong, and Unique Boutique is wrong. And I came to the town council. I asked for the financials because I don't think the money is being fished through properly. I don't think it's running properly. I don't think it's a fundraiser. I think we're losing money. And since the town is paying $12,000 a year to rent a space, it bothers me because that money could be spent somewhere else. We don't need the rental space. There is room in that basement if it wasn't being hoarded with items from Unique Boutique. And what kills me more is I've seen what happens with the items from Unique Boutique when they're not sold. They are cases. There had to be 60 of them, and they just donate them to Salvation Army. So it doesn't stay in the town. And I see people come in there looking for items and they say, no, we don't have them. Whatever we have is in the closet. But I know that there's hundreds of boxes in the basement of really nice clothing. And it kills me this is happening. And I tried over and over and over again to say the truth. And I don't know if the employees are scared and why they're not talking. And I know that there's nothing more I can do if the employees don't say anything. So I want you to know I am done talking about it on social media. There is no more I can do until the employees step up. I'm just disappointed and that nobody pressed the issue with the financial records. I'm really upset. Twice, 2 emails to you guys, several to Janet herself. And I know because when I was volunteering there, I asked for them. She said, we don't keep them. And I think that's why I really pressed it, so you guys could press to her that financial records need to be kept. And that is why I said the things I said. I did remove the post originally because my good friend works there. And I didn't know he gave his notice the day I started talking about it. So, because we don't talk all the time. And he called me, he goes, Stacey, you have to remove everything you said because they're going to think I put you up to this. And I realized, holy crap, like, all right, I didn't want you to like, lose your job. You know, and he's not, by the way, that's not what happened, but that's what he was afraid of. And that's why I originally took the post down. So I want you to know that it wasn't because I was scared, because I put it all out there, because I did again today, and then the person removed their post. So if anybody wants to talk to me about it, I will be on the up and up about it, but I have tried to bring light to this for a while now, and I just feel like it's not going to go anywhere. So that is where I am, but since you talked about that very vague answer they gave, or answered none of the things I talked about, by the way, which I thought was very interesting, I just feel like they kind of stifled me. It was like a checkmate situation since, all the employees signed the bottom of it. So I am my hands are tied. I know your hands are tied to a single point of it, but I just really hope that it eventually comes to light. But I did not lie, because I don't lie. So.
I did not even see any responses that you posted. I did not see anything that you wrote. So have you tried reaching out to the town manager and sitting down?
No,
I mean, that's what I'd suggest you do. Rather, that's probably the next appropriate step, because he certainly is willing.
I know that he's tried, and he worked with me when I was contacting him and you guys on getting the financials, So I know that, and a volunteer there told me that, well, this was quoted. She just said, he was involved and he asked us questions, and it's okay. I don't know if that's true, but that's what she said. So but you know about it, and I know that, you're going to look into it, because I do know you, and I know that about you. So I think it's true, and if you have or have not, I don't know. I know you will. So
I've looked at it, and I've spoken with the employees, and I'm very happy with their statement.
Good. All right. Well, that's all I can ask then. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Oh, one more thing, by the way. The FOI thing, just as a public person who sits here and sees things, I don't think any of us ever thought it was any of you guys doing that. I think, no offense to Riccio, I think it was that night that when you were talking about the hospital and they weren't replying to you and answering your calls, and he was like, oh, they answer my calls. They talk to me all the time. I think that's when everybody was like, that's weird. They won't return your calls, and you're the chairman, but they answer his. So that's everybody talk about. That's what we think that was about, by the way.
Well, and just to clarify, there was an actual complaint filed against all of us.
Right.
And they requested all the communication that we had. So I don't think it was intended at Mr. Riccio. I think it was really with all 9 of us. Okay. And that's why it's important, because again, we were trying to do our job and responsibility.
I agree.
Right.
I definitely agree. I don't want you to ever stop talking to the public. I mean, I don't know why anybody would ever want that. That's insane,
We agree.
Yeah, so, please don't. Yeah, you guys do a good job.
Thank you.
So.
Is there any other member of the public that would like to speak? Mr. Haig?
Rusty Haig, 170 Woodruff Street. I want to apologize up front there. I'm not very good at public speaking. But I just feel that, I've lived in Southington, in 170 Woodruff Street for almost 40 years. And we've had this problem for almost 40 years. Every time they keep putting more and more condos and expanding, like Spring Lake Village, the water keeps coming up higher and higher, and it keeps flooding over the road. And there's several problems. the main problem right now is on the south side of Woodruff, where the Alicia Court section was put in, there's a big wetlands. There's a nice berm that goes all across that road until it comes to the yellow house right on the corner, and it dips down like 2 feet. So it holds back all the water until it gets to that one little 2-foot dip, and it pours out over Woodruff Street. What happens then is we've got a lot of millennials with these beautiful four-wheel drive trucks, and they love hitting that water that's anywhere from a foot to 18 inches deep. Sometimes it's, excuse me, as high as 2 feet, and they love to see these rooster tails. But what happens is, as they're going through, it creates waves. As the waves come down the road, comes right down my driveway, bouncing off my garage door. It's undermined my my driveway now is sunk down about 1.5 feet. Runs across the lawn, eats out the dirt in the bank. So now that's down almost water level. We need to do something. When the water comes in, my wife will call the police or whatever, try to get a roadblock. And they say, well, we can't because it's public safety. Well, how come, I've seen it where these trucks have hit, hit the water, start spinning around. I mean, that's public safety. If you stop them, it helps. If the town, because it's got to be town road, town property on that berm, because if there was a sidewalk there, it's got to be town property. If they could just fill that in, it would save all the property owners on the north side of the road. If we could just get, the town come out and help and look at it. We need help. It's 40 years. I just got that last storm. I'm at like $35,000 damage to the house and property, and I'm still not done. And I don't want to. Right now, my first floor is, I've got like 2 feet of sheetrock ripped out, all the carpets, all the contents are gone, and I don't want to put it in. I just, we got a storm coming in tomorrow.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? I would like to get some help.
And I think, based on Councilwoman Triano's request earlier, you're going to get that help, because we had the Director of Public Works here. She requested that of him, so
Let me reference that. What you mentioned to the one side of the road, the berm, that could be looked at. If the water is coming in from the stream to your easterly side, that's a separate issue. There's some work that could be done there from the road side, but I don't want to guarantee anything to you about the stream itself, because from what I recall I think you and I talked about this years ago, I think you're actually in a floodway, not a floodplain, a floodway. And for those of you who know the definition of a floodway, today you couldn't build in a floodway. The house was built prior to '74, I take it? Yeah. So in a floodway, that means that's the area that the stream is designed to cover during the 100-year flood. That's called a floodway. That's why it's called a non-buildable area. But most of his house, actually my house is older than his, but when our houses were built, there was no regulations for that. So that's why that house is there. So in this particular case, if the water's coming from the south side of Woodruff through a berm, that's something certainly Keith can look at and do that. I don't want to guarantee anything with the floodway, because there's only so much you can do in the stream, and I understand what you're saying, but we will certainly look at that part of it. But if the flooding is coming from the stream itself, that might be much more difficult to handle.
I totally agree with you on that. But what's happening is, right now, because of the berm, the water's on the road, and that is traveling down. Right now, the brook is being held back by the culvert. So it's maintaining on the north or south side, filling up the wetlands. If the berm was completely the same size or same level, it would give maybe, I think there's like 8 acres of wetland in there. 8 acres, 2 feet high, more, would save our property. What's happening is because of its flooding over the road, traveling down the road, down the driveway, and then it's washing the dirt and the driveway and
We
everything
could
else.
certainly look at the south side of the road. If that's what you're talking about, we could certainly look
Right.
at that. I just don't want to give you any false hope that we're going to be able to do anything in the floodway. We can't do a lot
The
of work in there.
floodway, I know we
Yeah,
can't do
okay.
anything about right now.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ricchio?
Mark, there's a property across the street from this house that's, I know the owner's been wanting to sell for a while. I don't know if there's anything, this thing's been going on forever and ever, but maybe there's some overflow area there that you could,
There is, not to get too far into it, but I've had discussions with the property owner, and that's very possible that could be in town hands. It's in with the chair of the Open Space Committee now.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. It is still public communication, so are there any other residents that would like to speak? Please, the microphone is open.
My name is Linda Mendelson. I live at 161 Berlin Street. As of March 1st of this year, I will have been volunteering at Community Services for 11 years. I work there almost every single day, sometimes more often or longer than others, but I have been there for a good long time. Now, I don't want to accuse anybody of lying, but I think Stacy is misunderstanding or misremembering how long she has actually volunteered at Community Services. She served on a committee, a Fresh Start committee, and that entailed being in the office for a meeting once a month, and I think she was there for about 5 months. Other than that, she volunteered for 1 hour, well, I'm very nervous, to iron for Unique Boutique and has never since come back. Unique Boutique is probably it is our largest fundraiser. We use less than 5% of the donations that come to our organization for Unique Boutique. Almost 700 women come to shop at this event. And the money that is raised is used 100% for client use. It either goes to food, to help people with their rent or with their heating bills. Janet Mellon is perhaps the most giving person that I have ever met in my life. The amount of hours that woman puts in, the amount of her own personal finances that she uses to see that Community Services offers the very best to their clients is just unbelievable. You have to see it to know exactly how extensive it is. I find these articles that are being put on Southington Talks to be just reprehensible. If people have legitimate recommendations and how things could run better, there are much, much better ways of communicating that than to downgrade the work that they're doing. Most of the responses to those articles have been very positive. But there have been a lot of people who think that who have said, we're not going to donate there anymore. We didn't know that was going on. There is nothing going on other than supporting our clients to the best of our ability. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public that would like to speak? Okay, so I will close public communication. We're moving on to old business. First item for action is the West Street Jude Lane intersection improvements contract.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation, which is Paramount Construction Company out of Newington, for the bid with contingency of $676,692.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great, that passes unanimously. Item B is action on the 824 Westwood contract.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to accept the 824 Westwood contract.
Okay, so we have a
As stated.
motion from Vice Chair Maselli. Is there a second? Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Morrissey. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, is that a land swap area for equal to equal area in the swap?
I'll defer to the town
Yeah,
attorney.
it's almost exactly to the, like, maybe
There's,
it's
there's a little bit more giving than
Take,
taking,
exactly.
but
like 100th of an acre or something.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Excellent. Moving on to new business, tax refunds. Councilman Dietzick?
I will make the motion to approve the tax refunds as itemized in the town council packet.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, the tax refunds are granted. And finally, I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
What time did we get out last time?
It's like 45 minutes.
Oh,